Happy Tuesday. I need to switch my sign. I did not do that. Still says Monday. But it is parent-teacher conference week. So we have our two main days are going to be Thursday and Friday. We have half days where we schedule 15-minute conferences. Parents can sign up for them either on the phone or they can come in. But also because I'm here early, like every day, I offer 8 o'clock conferences just on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, actually, just to kind of spread them out and not feel like it's so back to back. I don't mind kind of slowly doing them over the time. So what we've been doing, I'm doing something similar to our October conferences, which I shared, where I'm doing just like a glow and a grow sheet. I think I mentioned this, but in October, our conferences were mostly focused on like social emotional learning, how the student is doing in class, some things that they might be working on, because we've only really had them academically for like 6 to 8 weeks, and a lot of that is review from kindergarten. So we'll definitely point out any things that may come about academically, of course, but that is kind of like the intro conference to them, just like how is your student doing in first grade, friendship wise, all that fun stuff that parents, really care about, really enjoy. This conference is definitely going to be more academic focused. Parents did receive a report card in January, so they kind of know where their child is right now. But then, well, actually that was already like 2 months ago. So what I did is I went ahead and made this, and I can share it with you if you think it's beneficial, but this is very specific to me. But for spring and first grade, I made a whole checklist, and I'll zoom in on this after to show you, of things that we've already taught so far. So I have like phonemic awareness skills, writing skills, reading, math, and then I have coming up what we're gonna teach for the rest of the year. And what I'm doing is for each child, I'm highlighting the ones that they are still working on. And if they have mastered everything so far this year, then I'm just highlighting some of the coming up skills. So that way parents know kind of what we are working towards as we go into second grade, and also some ways that they can help. For example, we are starting addition with regrouping in a few days, and that is always a difficult thing for students in first grade. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've already done one conference yesterday. I have another one in a few minutes. So I'm just going over some of the students' work so I know what I want to talk about. I love sharing their writing at this time of year. Some of these are phone conferences, so I'll just explain what I see and then send them home so they can see. But like I have their first writing assignment, which was a sentence assignment. And then to now they have a full personal narrative that they published and a full opinion writing that they published. Just to see that growth is always huge, makes you feel like we did something this year. Also this week we are teaching closed syllables. We are going back to Foundations Unit 9. Some of you may have been confused if you follow along with Foundations, because we jumped ahead from 8 to 11 to do that silent E unit, just because on the scope and sequence it seems to fall way too late in the year. So we kind of jump ahead, and now we're going back to closed syllables. So we're Unit 9, introduced closed syllables yesterday. I'll share some of the activities we're doing. And then in math, I think I already mentioned this, but we are doing double digit addition. And then we're going to be starting regrouping today. So yeah, lots to share. Let's dive into it. Before I dive into the slides, here is the close-up of the checklist that I had made. Again, this is everything we have covered so far in the spring this year. And I separated into phonemic awareness, writing, reading, and math. So here's kind of everything we went over. And then this is what's coming up for the rest of the year, just so they have an idea of what we are working on. And if students have already mastered everything here, then I would highlight some things on this section for parents to kind of work on with them and get them ready for second grade. Especially, like I said, that regrouping with 2-digit numbers, which is going to be tricky. And anything that students are still working on, I of course would highlight. That way parents know what they're still working on, and there are no surprises at the end of the year report card if there are some of these things that they still have not mastered. Again, I can upload this into Google Slides maybe and maybe I'll leave it like this, but I could make it editable. Let me know if that would be helpful to you, and I'll try to put it up there. That way you could kind of make it your own. All right, let's pull up the slides. We have our good morning, and then we have lunch, morning meeting. We have tell me. Since we are working on closed syllables, this is a good time to review just different syllables that we hear in words. So I put up a bunch of pictures here. On Tell Me Tuesday, they kind of chat with a partner and answer the questions on the board. And then also just a good little reminder of how to be a good role model in our class and follow those classroom rules. Then we did calendar, Haggerty, and for phonics, I told you we are really diving into closed syllables. So yesterday we learned what a closed syllable was. And then today we always do some blending. So we have the word block, and then they had to tell me if it was a closed syllable and how they know. So I would expect my students to say that it has one short vowel, ah, and it's closed in by this digraph CK here. And then we looked at a bunch of them. Shelf, closed in by the LF, and it has the short E, and trip. And then again, the short I closed with the P. And then I just had students come up and do some marking up of these words. Again, we kind of looked at each one. Yesterday and today, I only included closed syllables here. I didn't include ones that were not because, oops, I grabbed that marker. I just wanted them to be able to identify why it was a closed syllable instead of identifying which ones are and which ones aren't just yet. So here they would come up, we see the blend ST, they put a brev over the O, one syllable, closed. Now also I know that sometimes Foundations has you underline the blend if they see it, or you can underline the SH. However they wanted to is fine. I often scoop my blends, and that's something that I'll have to decide if I want to get better at for next year. They would come up, they would tell me what the word is, they would mark it up, and basically teach the class why it's a closed syllable. After we went ahead and reviewed that, we did something tricky today. We did mystery word. This I kind of gathered, I don't know if it was straight from Foundations or if I like read it and made it my own. I don't know. But let me show you what that looks like. Foundations has all of these little blank tiles here. And so I just put them in little containers. And what I had students do is we had to build a mystery word without using any consonants. So let me show you. So they got their magnet board. Let me open it up, and they got their little container that had 4 blank tiles. So what we did, and they also had a piece of paper and a pencil to kind of write down their words. So I told them we were going to be working on some closed syllable words. So I gave them a word like such, right? And then they had to show me how they would build this word. These are our consonants, and these are our vowels. Of course, our vowels and glued sounds are different colors. So I explained, because these are yellow, these are going to be our consonants, just like up here. So such would be s, ch. CH goes on one tile. Because it is a digraph, it is one box. Such. So then I would have them write the word down on the piece of paper as well, and then they would check it on the board up there. Now you can't see it here, but I had just like the board was blank, and I would draw a blank tile, a U, and then a blank tile, and they could see if they had it correct. So they're really listening for the word sound, or the word parts that they hear, the sounds in each word, instead of focusing on the letters first. So it was kind of like a way of like tapping it out first, and then writing it over on the paper. So if they had flap, they would go f, l, a, p, f, l, ap, flap. And then they would go ahead and write it down, and then they would check with me, blank, blank, a blank, flap. This was just a really fun activity that we did. Again, it's kind of like that phoneme grapheme mapping. They are focusing on the vowel sound that they hear. We talked about how each one was a closed syllable, and then we checked it on the paper to make sure it was spelled correctly too. Which also, side note, for letter storage, I'm going to keep these, and then all students at the end of the year, as they give me back all their extra sounds, their double letters, their digraphs, and their glued sounds, I'm going to store them in here. It was just a nice, easy way to do it. And right now I didn't have any other storage for it, so this shall work. Now, because we are going back to closed syllables, I like it because it's a good time to review our digraphs, our blends, our glued sounds. All of those are included in our closed syllable words. So like during our literacy centers time, I have them doing different blends and glued sounds activities. Finish the word here, a blend matchup, listening for blends that they hear in words. So a little bit of a review there. And then also for when, I want to show you a couple of the activities that we're doing too. This page right here is complete the syllable, closed syllables. This is in the literacy club under my syllable activities. But what I had them do is down here, they have different closed syllables, and we talk about how these are 2-syllable words, but both of the syllables are closed. So they have to go ahead and match it up. So this one has been tricky, but like good tricky, not too hard where they don't know how to do it. But it's kind of just enough for them to really mix those syllables together and decode and create 2-syllable words. Okay, for math, we are doing a regrouping lesson. We're going to start with a math warm-up like always. So I think I showed you these last time, but first I have students identify the number that is shown using base 10 blocks, and then they have to add, either we're adding ones or we're adding multiples of 10s for right now. So 21 plus 20. I'm looking for all different ways that they solved this. They may have counted on by tens. Maybe they could come up and draw two tens rods. We also did learn stack math, like we call it. So they could come up here and do 21 over here, add the ones, add the tens, however they find it necessary. And then we have another one here with 44 plus 5. So here we're just adding some ones. And then a challenge problem of 13 plus 14. And of course, since we have learned the algorithm, or we are learning how to stack them on top of each other, which is important, when we do a math talk, I never stack it on top of each other, because this is the time where I really want students to understand that they can decompose those numbers into tens and ones. They can add it so many other ways besides just that one way. If they choose to stack it, I will write it on the board if that's how they said they did it, but I always pose it horizontally. And then it says, we will regroup numbers, or we'll group numbers into tens and ones. So we actually got to watch a fishbowl lesson with our math coordinator yesterday. So the whole first grade team went in and watched. And this lesson is basically something she did. So we are going to replicate it in our class today, just to get students used to regrouping. The way this game worked is I had this sheet here. It's based off one that was in our Math and Focus textbook. And what students did is they got a bag, a mystery bag. So I showed them how to do this first. So it'd just be like a brown paper bag with a teen number of cubes in it. So let me just grab one for you. Here we go. So they would get a bag, and like I said, I did this we all sat here in a circle first, and they would go ahead and dump this out. And with a partner, they had to determine how many were in their mystery bag. Now, I showed them, we talked about ways to count and how it's easier to group tens and then have ones left over, which we did talk about a lot a few weeks ago. So they would first put all these here like this, all their ones, and then they had to figure out how many tens and how many ones. So what we would do is we stacked it up. So let me do that. So we have our 10 and then our leftovers. And then I showed them how there's many different ways that they can represent this number. So here we have 110, and we just do that by drawing like a rod. And we have 4 ones, 2, 3, 4. And of course, during this time, we talked about how is this the same as when we had them all spread out? Is 14 ones the same as a 10 and 4 ones? And we determined that it is, it's just grouped differently. And then when we came over here, we have a number bond, which would be, if this marker will work, it's okay, you'll get it. 14 is 10 and 4. And then of course, if we are showing it with our 2-digit place value, we have 110 and 4 ones. And I had filled it out up here as well, so everyone could use it as a guide. And then I went ahead and gave everybody their little bag to go ahead and figure this out with, and then they would come back to the rug and they would explain with the partner what number they had, as well as how many tens and how many ones that number had in the bag. Now, something else my math coordinator did, which I loved, is most of the bags had these cubes, but I did give some students just a bunch of the ones base tens blocks. And what I did is when we came back, I explained, hey, most of you had these that we could stack into a 10, but some of you had these cubes. Now, we've seen these before, and I explained that when we have 10 of these individual cubes, we can exchange it for one of these rods, and we showed how it has 10 here, just to really get them understanding that both tools are the same, and they're just different ways of representing those tens and ones. So then, after students did this with their partner, like I said, they came back and they sat in a circle. They each shared, we had 14. That's 1 10 and 4 ones. Then we played Race to 50, which we have played before. I shared this a week or two ago, but I had players get against one another. They would go ahead and roll their die, and each time they roll, they had to fill up the cubes, and every time we got to a 10, they had to regroup. Now, something else I added is every time that they did get to a 10, they had to high-five each other and say, regroup, just to get used to that like fact, and kind of point it out that every time we're exchanging 10 ones for a rod, we are regrouping. That is what it's called. Also during this game, I think I shared this last time, I like to every minute or so, I will have everybody freeze, and they have to tell me the exact number they have. So they have to count up using that tens and ones knowledge, 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, based on what was on their board. Good morning, happy Wednesday. I've just kind of been popping in a few days when I can this week. I told you yesterday that it is parent-teacher conferences, so I've got a lot going on in the mornings, afternoons, kind of all over the place, so I'm just popping in when I can. I do want to show you today, yesterday I showed you the regrouping game that we played, and today we're going to take that regrouping knowledge and apply it towards two-digit addition. So I made a little spin and add game that I want to show you and kind of walk through what we are up to today. So let's just dive into that. All right, let me head over to the slides. Today, for math, we are kind of building on that regrouping lesson that we did yesterday. So of course we have a math talk here. Let me make it into slideshow. Just like yesterday, we start off with the base 10 cubes, and then we add a multiple of 10. This one, I'm looking for them to recognize that tens fact, but there's many different ways they could solve this. So they'll tell me how they solved it. And then again, a two-digit number that they can decompose or solve however they see necessary. Now this one, I want you to notice, we haven't taught this yet. So this is a challenge one, but there will be regrouping that is necessary. So I'll be interested to hear what students have to say for this before we dive in. Then for our main lesson, I'm going to let students know that yesterday we played Race to 50, we practiced regrouping, making those tens and ones, and now we're going to practice adding two-digit numbers using that fun regrouping strategy that we learned. And I'm gonna do this using spin and add. So let me grab that mat. Okay. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to, of course, like always, I'm going to have everybody come to the rug, sit in a circle, and I'll show them how to play this game first and foremost, and then I will send them off to do it with a partner. So there's going to be A and B partners. A partner will have this mat, B partner will have this mat, so that way they are showing me two different ways on how to do this. With spin and add, they will go ahead and spin the spinner. Bad spin, but that's okay. 38. I will put this in a protective sheet so I can write on it, but we will write 38, making sure the tens are here, the ones are here, and partner B is going to build 38 on the place value mat. So 10, 20, 30, and they have to wait until this person is done, so they have to do it together. So we'll build the first, let's see, 38. Okay, now we have 38 here, 38 here. We're gonna spin again and add. If I can spin with one hand, here we go. And 26. So I will write 26 here. Then I'm going to show adding 26 here, and I'm gonna put it under here first to show them what we will do. And this is where I'm gonna show them kind of that concrete along with the abstract and what it looks like over here. So I will explain to them during this time, oh, what do we do here? We have to put 2 here, regroup. We're gonna take these out, grab another 10. We can put all these up here into our tens, and we have these ones left over. So the answer on this side is going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 64. And I'll show them what that looks like on this mat. How that looks like, 8 plus 6 is 14. I'll show them all those ones here, how we take that 10, kind of like as I'm doing it, if that makes sense. How we add the 1 up here, and how we end up solving that over here. So I'm gonna show them that a few times here on the floor, just so they can see what that will look like. And then I'm gonna send them off with their partner, again, A and B. After A has done this part and B has done this part, we clear the board, switch positions, so each student gets a chance to work on both the abstract as well as the concrete. This time is definitely a time I will be pulling some of my students who I know are still definitely at this level to come with me, and I will probably do this while they do this. So that way they're not worried about, carrying the one and all that, the regrouping part and the abstract yet. They're just focused here until we move on. This is something we are definitely going to practice for a few days. So today is just the beginning. That spin and add sheet, that one right there, is in the math club already. I have it with regrouping and without regrouping, so they can get used to stacking those 10s and 1s on top of one another. I also want to point out what we are doing, or what we have been doing in writing. I told you we've been doing our how-to writing, and yesterday we actually stretched our story across the pages, and we have some more that we're going to add today. So I'm gonna get ready for a parent-teacher conference, and then I'm gonna pop back in afterwards to show you what we are up to in writing. All right, so hair is up. I'm already sweaty. Let's talk about writing. So let me grab a writing folder so I can show you kind of the steps we're at. I said that we already stretched our stories across the pages, so today we're gonna add something new. But let me show you what we've done so far. Okay, so for how-to writing, I already told you, introduced what how-to writing is using that big anchor chart. We went ahead and read a bunch of how-to books, and then students got together and they identified which elements of how-to writing were in the books. Then we, of course, went to brainstorming. So when we did our brainstorming, we thought of some ideas of things that we know how to do at school. So swing, I don't know what that one is, machine, making, cook, drink, play with your dog, soccer, basketball, play, watch TV. This student came up with all these ideas of things that they know how to do and could teach somebody else how to do. Then we actually zoomed in. So instead of playing soccer, I think I explained this before, but instead of saying like, oh, I can teach you how to play soccer, I said that would be a really long book, right? That'd be like a big, thick book to know all the rules of playing soccer. So we're gonna zoom in and pick a specific thing. So how to score a goal in soccer, basically. So that was a zoomed in topic, and this is the cover of his how-to book. Then we said, okay, how to score a goal. Let's break this into 3 easy steps that we could teach someone how to do. So we came over to our planning sheet. We talked about transition words that are included on our anchor chart back there. We did a whole lesson where we pointed out transition words. Then how to score a goal. First, get a soccer ball. Then go to a goal at like a park. Last, swing your foot backwards and swing it forward. And then he did pictures to match. So this could obviously be zoomed in. I'm going to let this go. For first grade, as long as their steps kind of make sense, I am here for it. So we did our plan. And then during our very last lesson, we got our 3-page booklet. These are just like all the other writing booklets I do, except I have a box in the corner to label our steps. So, and then we just took the plan and we copied it here. So first, get a soccer ball. You can see. Then it's going to be then go to a goal at like a park. And then last, swing your foot backwards. So he's still finishing this one, and swing it forward. He will go ahead and write that here with a picture to match. Now today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about adding details to each of these pages. So let me show you that. Okay, so pulling up the slides, our goal for today is to use our senses to add details to our writing. And of course I will talk about, we kind of go along each of the steps of the writing process. So I'll point out what we've done so far and where we're at. And this next step that we're going to do is actually going to be revise. I have it up here. I put edit and revise together, but we will talk about how revision is adding things to our story and changing things in our story, which is what we're doing today. And then we will do editing as our next step. Actually, I think we're adding illustrations and labels first. But goal 7, we will use our senses to add details to our writing. It says, now that we have the very start of our book, we took our plan, spread the steps across the pages. Today we'll go back into our story and add some details. I'll talk a little bit about sensory details and things that we could go ahead and add to our stories. And then I will, of course, model this. So mine, the whole time I've been using a model of cleaning up magnet tiles. I zoomed in from cleaning up our classroom to just the magnet tiles. So I'll show them page 2 here, which is what I already had written for them. And then I'm going to explain how I can give more details. So I'll do a little think aloud, saying I want them to put the magnet tiles away carefully so they don't break and they're not too loud. Again, I'm thinking about my hands. I'm thinking about touching them quietly. I'm thinking about my ears, just giving them more information. And then I'm also going to show them how after I add this detail here, I'm going to add it to my illustration as well. Then I will have students think about the steps on their how-to booklets. They'll think of one sensory detail that they could add. And then they'll tell a partner what it is before they go back and add it to their own. So this is kind of like an adding day where, again, we're adding more details to our how-to writing to make sure our reader really understands what we're trying to teach them. And then basically the next few lessons for our how-to writing, I think the next lesson is adding clear photographs or pictures, illustrations rather, and labels. So we'll look at some mentor text for that, identify the labels, add it to our writing. So another like revision step. Then we'll do a full editing day where we will go through, reread everything for capitals, understanding, punctuation, spacing, spelling, all that fun stuff. And then we will publish. So they'll make sure their book is finally ready to go, and we will open it up in Seesaw and read it to a parent. So that way they have an authentic audience. So how-to writing is a really fun one. This is really like a 2-week unit. I think I told you this. And we are just following along the steps from the writing club. But also I do have a regular how-to writing unit over on TPT. It's not as detailed, but a lot of the same types of lessons are in there. So I will link that one down in the description in case you want to check it out. But that is what we are up to this week. We've got parent-teacher conferences, closed syllables, addition with regrouping, and how-to writing. That is kind of a quick little gist of what we are into this week. I will come back next week with maybe a little more detail in some of our math activities or phonics activities. Let me know what you want to know more about down in the comments. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.